folks, Keywii here, and welcome back to Ace Academy, a safe space in which will be awesome, where I'm joined by Nikki, who seems to be a little more serious than normal. Nikki lets out a huge, and by the way, that's because of what just happened at the end of the last episode. Go back and watch that if you haven't. Lets out a huge breath when we step into the living room. Her face is unusually serious. She hangs her head and stares at her feet.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. Why?
If I hadn't gone to visit Ken, I wouldn't have lost track of time and stayed out so late. And then I wouldn't have gotten into this mess and made everyone worry.
Wrong attitude to have when you're assaulted. Nikki, what happened wasn't your fault. She glances up at me.
But if I...
No, none of this was your fault. What happened is the fault of those guys. If I ever find out who they are, I'm going to finish what Ken started. Don't make threats, just comfort. Nikki smiles weakly and nods.
I think I'll go take a shower.
Sure. Go relax, spend some time, focus on you. Do not think it was your fault. Just calm. Just take some time to be you. As soon as Nikki goes upstairs, Kato pops his head out of the kitchen.
Is Nikki gone?
Yeah. He pauses and gives me another look.
Did something happen?
I debate telling Kato about the incident, as I should, as he is our parental figure, but I don't want him to needlessly worry. He looks like he has something else on his mind. Man, I sure do love keeping secrets about serious shit. You know, like an asshole. That's fine, what's up? It's not fine.
I heard back from the PI.
What did he say?
Ezra Wilson.
The drunk driver?
Yeah. What do you really know about him?
I knew he was drunk at the time, and that he drives cars. And Dad used to work together at Midori Energy. They were on every project together, and he used to come to the house all the time while we were growing up. I thought he and Dad were friends. My voice trails off. His blood alcohol was far over the legal limit. It's not like the cops could ask him about it due to his coma, nor was there any evidence which indicated that this was more than a cut-and-dry drunk driving incident. There was no incentive to investigate further, so that was all that was listed in the report.
Well, it turns out Ezra was stalking your father.
Okay, I feel like they would have figured that out. I frown. That doesn't make sense. They saw each other every day at work. I mean, I feel like if you were to have a stalker, it would be someone who knows you. Who infiltrates your wherever, and anyway. Why?
The PI read about a huge fire at Midori Energy the week before your parents' accident. He spoke to a few people and found out that the fire destroyed important documents which contained all the research for Midori's latest project.
I racked my brain. I think I remember hearing something about that fire. I feel like you would remember that, yeah.
The documents which were destroyed was your father's and Ezra's research.
Dad's research? I try to recall Dad right before the accident. He seemed a little more worried than usual, but otherwise didn't give any indication that something was amiss. Shouldn't, you know, if you were a family who asked about things instead of keeping them to yourself, you would ask what was going on, and he would likely, tell you. Hard to say, though. Any indication was missed. Shouldn't he have been devastated by something like losing years of research? Was he trying to protect me, or was something else going on? It was definitely the first.
Ezra didn't take the loss well. Right after the fire, Ezra accused your father of purposely sabotaging him by setting their research on fire.
Okay. Dad wouldn't do that. It was his research, too.
Right. It didn't make sense. Nobody believed him, and they chalked up his breakdown to stress. But he wouldn't let it go. He accosted your father many times at work demanding answers. It got so bad that he was assigned a leave of absence by the company. On the day of the accident, your parents had lunch at a cafe.
Nikki called them asking for a ride. Yeah, I remember.
The PI asked the waitstaff if they remembered seeing your parents there, and they did. Ezra too.
He was there?
Yeah, he'd followed them there and was already clearly intoxicated. He demanded that they pay him all the money he would have made upon completion of the project.
He said your father owed him.
Obviously, your father refused and continually maintained his innocence. Ezra became so disruptive, the manager had to forcibly remove him from the cafe.
Your parents seemed shaken, but tried to finish their meals as if nothing happened. Why are they adding so much dialogue after the fact? That makes me curious, as if they're trying to add more story and more context even after all the voicing was done.
That's when they received the call from Nikki.
And I guess Ezra tried to tail them, but ended up running them off the road. Kato nods, looking more grim than ever. Something doesn't add up. What research is important enough to kill over? It really depends on the person the research was done by. It could be nothing, it could be everything. We don't really know. We would need to know Ezra's mental state. And if Ezra was driven to madness over losing his life's work, why was Dad barely affected? And there's the convenient timing of Akira's copycat core. That doesn't seem all that convenient, it's like a year later. How much time has passed since the accident? Since the fire? Enough for the company to piece together just enough of the research to turn a profit. Uncle Kato, he looks at me. I think the research that killed Dad has to do with my core. He hesitates, then nods slowly.
You might be right.
I mean, it's where everything's leading to. Wasn't there an encrypted piece that Valerie wasn't able to unlock? Maybe that can help make sense of all this. I need to take another look at it. I need to go look at my core. Uncle Kato doesn't try to stop me.
You do what you need to do.
Just be safe. Thank you, Uncle Kato. For the second time today, I race to the garage and hop back on my bike. Then I drive to Ace. The campus feels even more empty than usual. Even though it's after hours, I have no trouble swiping into the hangar. All is quiet except for the sound of my footsteps. I cannot get the Eagle fast enough. As soon as I do, I plop down at the terminal and boot up the computer. Follow the instructions Valerie left for me, and I'm greeted by the password prompting screen she showed me earlier. She said there was a hint here. Let's see what it says. The screen is a scrambled mess of words with no rhyme or reason to them. I read through a couple of times, making sure my eyes don't skip any words. Most of these words mean nothing to me. They seem arbitrary and filled with numbers. But a select few stand out. Cricket, Moo, Sir Hops-a-Lot. Why do these stand out? These were childhood nicknames Dad gave me. Each one of them has a story, but none of them were very long-lived. The ultimate nickname that stuck with me for an embarrassingly long time was Meatball, because when I was born, my cheeks were big and round like meatballs. I feel like then he wouldn't have made other nicknames. Dad's favorite story to tell was the time I started school. The teacher called Ethan for roll call, and I stayed silent. That's actually pretty neat. I stayed silent, so she marked me absent. After she'd gone through the rest of the names, I said she didn't call mine. She asked if my name was Ethan, and I responded with, no, my name is Meatball. I called Meatball at home for so long that I didn't even know my real name. That must be the answer. I apprehensively type in Meatball into the password prompt. My fingers hover over the enter key before pressing it. The prompt disappears and a video pops up on screen. My breath catches in my throat as Dad looks straight into the camera. There are dark circles under his eyes and worry lines around his mouth. His hair sticks up at odd angles and his clothes are smudged with dirt and oil. He notices a recording light is on and tries to fix himself up a bit before giving me a weak smile.
The fact that you are watching this now means something must have gone wrong.
He sighs, and his voice grows thick.
I'm sorry.
I try to swallow the lump in my throat and ignore the sting of tears in my eyes. This isn't the Dad I remember. The Dad I remember had a beaming laugh which took up the room. He was sure of himself and never had regrets.
By putting this technology in Eagle, I have potentially endangered you. But I don't know where else I can keep it safe. Midori Energy doesn't fully understand the scope of this research. They're willing to sell it to anyone without considering the consequences. Companies which would weaponize this technology will cause irreparable damage. They could create energy explosions 13 times the force of a nuclear bomb.
That's pretty bad. He sets his jaw and lifts his gaze back towards the camera. His eyes are unusually steely and cold.
That's why I caused the fire. I burned all copies of my research to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands.
But Dad runs his hands through his hair, a gesture he would do whenever he was stressed or worried.
It's hard to completely destroy 20 years of research. Especially when this technology could bring so much good. The possibilities would have been endless. This new format of energy may function similarly to existing methods. but the fundamental principles are vastly different and have far wider scalability implications.
A shadow of his old self returns while he talks, and I catch a glimpse of a genuine smile. Dad was always a bit of a dreamer. Then his face becomes grim.
And that is why this core is sitting in Eagle now.
His piercing gaze stares straight into my soul.
I'm sorry for getting you involved. I'm sorry I couldn't follow through with what I started. But most of all, I'm sorry I wasn't able to tell you this in person.
His eyes look glossy and glitter too much beneath the light.
I probably don't say this enough, but I'm so proud of who you've grown up to be.
Aww.
I know, if you're watching this, that I've put a heavy burden on your shoulders. But I trust you will make the right decision. My only hope is that you can find it in your heart to forgive me.
Dad glances behind him. Something must have spooked him because when he faces the camera again, he smiles feebly and his voice is quiet.
Take care of your sister. Goodbye, son.
The video cuts off abruptly. At first, I'm too stunned to move. The image of Dad is seared into my eyes. He was the same, yet so unfamiliar. As his face slowly fades away, I'm surprised to feel wetness on my cheeks. He knew. He knew exactly what he was doing when he hid this technology inside of Eagle. And now I understand why I wasn't allowed to help program the core. I understand why Dad seemed so obsessive about completing Eagle. It also makes sense why I never noticed the difference between this core and any other core. Dad never matured the technology. But he must have set up the overdrive configuration probably not long before he set the overdrive to only happen once. He set the overdrive to only happen once, so I'd begin to search for answers. His last words ring in my head. Goodbye, son. Knew the implications of his research and entrusted it all to me through the gear we built together. I glance over at Eagle, partially obscured by shadows. The darkened blue no longer seems warm and inviting like the salty spray of the ocean. It feels dangerous and cold like a winter sky. Try to bring up the video once more so I can hear his voice just one more time. See his face. Even though it's not the one I want to remember, but I can't. It was a one-time initiation. As I try to process the situation, I don't know what to feel. I recall Dad's hollow cheeks and the shadow of pain in his eyes. Of one thing I am certain. I cannot keep using the core knowing all this. What will I do about the research? Keep it protected or destroy it all? Ooh. Ooh. Well, here's the thing. My dad, James, who, I mean, I didn't expect that name, but cool. Yeah, he wanted the technology to be used for good. To be used as, like, an energy source or whatever. And it was already getting into the wrong hands. Which, at this point, it already has. Excuse me. So, if I were to use the destroy it all option, then no good version of it would be left. It would only be used in the hands of the people who have ill wishes, I suppose. So, if I were to say keep it protected, I don't know how that would work, but it would be a case of the good guys would still have it too. Even if they get manipulated later, they would still have it, you know? I'm going to go with this one. Because he did destroy his research, but he kept the stuff alive. Like, he didn't destroy all of it. Even if he said it was hard, it was more of an emotional thing than a physically capable thing. So I'm gonna do this one. Sometimes Dad thought too much about the big picture and forgot about the details. He wanted to create a better future for us and was willing to die to make his dreams a reality. If only he could have seen that the future he wanted was one with him in it. I don't want Dad's sacrifice to have been in vain. I want him to achieve his dream. I climb up the ladder beside Eagle and open the cockpit. Then I key in the sequence which unlocks the panel protecting my core. Like a breathing heart, it gives off a faint pulse of energy. I open the terminal screen in my cockpit and find the source information for my core. After collecting all the schematics and data into a drive, I set an impossible run instance. The low glow continues to brighten more and more. After a zapping noise, it becomes an opaque object. As far as anyone would know, the core short-circuited. This technology belongs with a company who will utilize it properly. Until I know who that is, I'll keep it safe with me and not bring it any more attention to it. After learning all that I have, I can't keep using it as a leg up against the competition. Eagle will use a regular core from now on. And then it exploded. As I stand there, I suddenly feel so tired and lost. Without thinking, I pull out my phone and dial the first name that comes to mind. Valerie.
Long time no see. Haven't had enough of me yet?
Look, Valerie, can we meet? She pauses. Concern replaces the playfulness in her voice.
Is everything okay?
I don't know.
Where are you right now?
I'm at the hangar.
Okay, I'll be right there.
Good to know she shows worry and concern, like, immediately. No, wait. Do you think I could maybe go to you?
Okay.
She doesn't even bother with a playful retort. Do I sound that serious? Yes. Thanks, I'll be right there. We hang up, and as if in a daze, I make my way over to Valerie's dorm. She buzzes me in and greets me at her door with a wide smile, which turns into a worried smile as soon as she sees me. Without a word, she stands aside and lets me in, then leads me to her bed.
This isn't exactly how I expected your first visit to my room to go.
I glance at her roommate's neatly made bed.
She's out with some friends. What a wasted opportunity, huh?
I chuckle weakly.
So, what have you got in your hand?
I show her the drive. Valerie gives me a questioning look. It's the data to my core.
Your core.
Yeah.
Okay. Glad we got that cleared up. What exactly is it doing out of Eagle?
Well... Valerie listens attentively as I explain everything I'd learned. Even though my story jumped from one part to the next and back, she let me do most of the talking and hardly ever interrupted me with questions. After I finish, she stares at her desk.
I see.
I know it's a lot to take in at once.
I understand why you did what you did.
Really? She nods.
And I think you did the right thing.
Heavy weight seems to lift off my shoulders. I hadn't realized just how much I was worried I had made the wrong decision until Valerie validated my choice. I've been kind of serious this whole episode just because I'm reading it and it's in a packed full scene. I am partially convinced that Valerie might be, like, still after the technology as I suspected at the beginning of the game. But we'll see. We'll see if she betrays me.
But knowing that you weren't going to keep your core, what do you want me to do with the blueprints?
Delete it. I'd rather keep Dad's legacy alive. Now here's the interesting thing. If we delete the blueprints, then then they can't get in the wrong hands. But again, they're already in the wrong hands. So is there a benefit to keeping it for the good side? Hypothetically, it'd be easier to make more, but does more need to be made? Is the question. I'm gonna go with yes. I think this one I'm actually genuinely not sure about. Keep Dad's legacy alive. Delete it. Yeah, I genuinely don't know what to do here. And talking through it hasn't really done much for me yet. Because both seem like they could go way wrong. And I'm still have a tinge of doubt about Valerie's character. She could have been lying this entire time. Twist ending, oh no. But I don't know that for certain. So... let's go with this one, I guess. Nothing. She blinks.
Nothing?
Nope, let's keep the blueprints, but don't let anyone know we have them.
It'll be our little secret.
Oh. But for now, don't try to recreate the core either. She pouts.
Aw, there goes your next birthday present.
She cracks a smile, and I can't help but smile back. I'm sure you'll think of something else. We fall silent. I'm sorry. I know I must be kind of a drag to be around right now.
A little bit.
I crack another smile. Gee, tell me how you really feel. But that'll have to be it for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching. I thought we'd be over by now, but nope. We're still in some of the storylines. So I predict maybe next episode or the episode after that, the game will be over. Not entirely sure. I have no clue. Could go on for fucking ever. But I believe we're approaching the end. So I will continue to believe that until I'm proven wrong. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've, of course, been Keywii. You've been great to you and yourself a delightful day. Goodbye.